I'd like to take a moment to thank my mom for listening to every episode. Now, my mom is the real reason you're listening to this show right now, but the sponsors have a little something to do with it as well. So I'd like to thank our sponsors too. Clio, Noda, Scorpion, TimeSolve. Built for lawyers, Noda's cloud-based business banking is perfect for your solo or small law firm. You want to spend your day helping clients, not struggling to reconcile bank statements. Noda's customer service specialists are here to help you. They only support attorneys so they understand the tools you use and the requirements you're up against, and they take your business as seriously as you do. Don't miss out on exciting new member benefits, including our partnership with Lawline to earn ethics credits for your CLEs. Online at trustnoda.com/legal. Noda, banking built for law firms like yours. Terms and conditions may apply.
It's the Legal Toolkit with Jared Correia. With guest Mike Feldman, a round of the town. And then Jared's going to teach me the game Old Maid. Not sure why he's insisting on playing a stripped version of it though. But first, your host, Jared Correia.
It's the Legal Toolkit podcast. And you know what that means. Oh, you don't? This is kind of awkward. Neither do I. Sorry. Looks as though I've overhyped that. And for some reason, we still call this the Legal Toolkit podcast, even though I once passed out trying to cut down a sapling. True story. I'm your host, Jared Correia. Larry Sanders was unavailable because Larry Sanders is a fictional character. I'm the CEO of Red Cave Law Firm Consulting, a business management consulting service for attorneys and bar associations. Find us online at redcavelegal.com. I'm the COO of Gideon Software, Inc. We build chatbots so law firms can convert more leads and conversational document assembly tools so law firms can build documents faster and more accurately. You can find out more about Gideon at gideonlegal.com. Now, before we get to our interview today with Mike Feldman, principal of Chalkbridge Ghostwriting and Content about, wait for it, content production. You could have guessed that, I suppose. I've also got something I need to get off my chest. Let's have a frank talk about outsourcing. Lawyers like to do everything on their own. Are they stubborn assholes? Sure. But there's something else going on here too. Lawyers tend to be perfectionists. They're also really good at things. Like doctors and professional athletes, most attorneys have been high achievers their whole lives. They don't know how not to be. You know, kicking ass, taking names on the regular. So, if such a person as that is presented with a problem to solve or a task to do, who do you think the first choice is to tackle it? Themselves, of course. Allow myself to introduce myself. The average attorney is an above average individual and thinks, I can do that better than anyone else. That can be making coffee or designing a freaking rocket ship. That can truly be literally anything. Throw in a touch of OCD and it becomes even harder to delegate. I know it because towels in my house can only be folded in a particular way, and I'm the only one who can do it right. Yes, I'm really annoying to live with too. And once upon a time, I was a practicing attorney also. I mean, in some ways, this is admirable, high achievers, high achieving. But in a business construct, it can be pretty devastating to your bottom line. It leads to attorneys building their own uniquely horrible websites. Trust me, I've seen a number of them. It leads to lawyers spending time obsessing over the placement of a picture frame in the conference room. It means barristers are trying to figure out how to log in as an admin to a software program. Lawyers who try to do everything on their own really just end up wasting a whole hell of a lot of time. And it's even worse than that because it absolutely kills law firm revenue dead. You see, there's a simple math problem involved here in that lawyers tend to build more than the vendors or staff they outsource projects to. So serious question. Why is your ass out there making coffee instead of billing $450 an hour when you have someone who can make that coffee that you paid $20 an hour to? Now, I'm not a math major, but it sounds like you're losing $430 an hour doing that shit. Even website designers and IT professionals bill less than you do. In fact, chances are Unless you're hiring another lawyer, outsourcing is going to be a profitable endeavor, full stop. So while your website designer is out there building you a website, and while your IT person is out there managing your devices, and while your admin is out there brewing coffee, plunk yourself down in front of the computer and start cranking out that legal work. For every hour you're not working on a business-related task that you don't have expertise in, you're making margin, doing the same kind of work that you do have expertise in. This is part of the notion of practicing at the top of your law license, which I've talked about before, meaning that smart lawyers are consumed by doing two things. One, high-level substantive work that they get paid the most for, or two, marketing for more of that same kind of work. Everything else is noise, and noise can be pushed out by outsourcing, as it turns out. To manage this effectively, most lawyers need to undergo a mindset change. They need to be willing to step away a bit and let other professionals manage their own jobs without trying to micromanage them. Because there's a wide gulf between overseeing and micromanagement. But I think you can figure it out. After all, you're a smart lawyer. You can do anything, right? It's been said that perfection is the enemy of the good. But it turns out that perfection is the enemy of the should. Like, you should be outsourcing more shit like yesterday. It's just simple math, people. But now let's hear from Joshua Lennon. That's correct. It's time for the Clio Legal Trends Report Minute.
What traits are clients looking for most in a lawyer? According to 86% of surveyed clients, it's being responsive to questions. I'm Joshua Lennon, lawyer in residence at Clio, and this is just one finding from our recent Legal Trends Report. Research shows that the quicker a lawyer is in providing information to clients, the more positive the client experience will be. It's no surprise firms with growing revenue are 41% more likely to use client portals to quickly communicate with clients. These secure portals ensure clients always know the status of their case, resulting in a more transparent and client-centered experience. To learn more about what today's clients expect from their lawyers and how firms can meet those expectations, download Clio's Legal Trends Report for free at clio.com/trends. That's Clio spelled CLIO.com/trends.
So, let's find out why the people of the North Shore in Massachusetts are so obsessed with roast beef sandwiches. Honestly, it's kind of weird. I'm not from here. All right, it's time to interview our guest. My guest today, my neighbor, Mike Feldman. He's the principal of Chalkbridge Ghostwriting and Content. Mike, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
So, as will become apparent to everyone shortly in the audience, Mike and I live in the same town. Mike coaches my son's basketball team. I'm going to ask you some questions about ghostwriting, but I have a disclaimer that I want people to know about first. I want to note that, yes, I understand that there are some grumblings out there that ghostwriting for law firms is unethical. As you might have guessed, I think that's really stupid. And it's fundamentally an oversight question, like so much of legal ethics is. Plus, lawyers do this all the time. Mike's not an attorney. I'm not going to ask him questions about ethics, mostly because it's asinine. All right, I'm glad we had this talk. Mike, what's the difference between ghostwriting and copywriting? Is there even one? I don't know if I understand. Among the many things I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think when people talk about ghostwriting specifically, they're talking about inhabiting another author's voice, whereas copywriting, that may or may not be the case. So, but I'm glad you mentioned the thing about the ethics of it, and I'm certainly not speaking about ghostwriting in the legal sense because that's not something that I've done. But there are a bunch of misconceptions about ghostwriting. First and foremost, it's largely thought of in the context of LA and New York City, where it would be referencing books and screenplays, right? So generally speaking, that's not what I do. It's also tend to be thought of as a sort of a lonely hermit's thing. Like you go into a cave and you come out days later and you've just produced this piece of writing and someone else puts their name on it and that's that.
I thought that's how it worked.
Right. So usually it's much more collaborative than that. I like to think of ghostwriting as, you know, the end result is something that the stated author would have produced did they have the time to do it. So this is really just about saving time. Generally speaking, I'm dealing with an author who will give me some bullet points and be like, hey, these are the points I want to cover. I might have covered them 20 times before, but I need a new voice or a new fresh way to do that. Can you help me? And then it's a more collaborative process. It's not like, writing somebody's term paper for them and then they put their name on it. It's not really like that at all.
That's bad.
Right. That is bad. There is such a thing as unethical ghostwriting. So it really comes down to how you do it. And the other misconception, I think, is that it's something that's used by bad writers. And I'd be willing to bet you that because a lot of lawyers are very good writers, that very few are in any way interested in ghostwriting. However, what I tend to find is that the people I work with can write just fine. It's just that their time might be better spent doing something else rather than fleshing out those bullet points. So that's how I approach it. So I have no ethical qualms with how I approach it, but certainly it is a fine line, and you have to be mindful of that.
So, that's ghostwriting. I get that. So, would you view copywriting as something different? Is that putting together blog posts or white papers for a business that don't necessarily have an author outside of the corporate author? Yeah.
So, I think those terms sometimes get used interchangeably, but certainly writing on behalf of an organization, I mean, to me, it's kind of like a potato. Is it ghostwriting? Is it copywriting? I don't know. I'm writing for your organization and trying to capture your organizational voice.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because I thought that was an interesting point that you brought up, right? Lawyers are good writers. Yes, to a point. But lawyers are also good writers when it comes to writing about legal stuff. So they love Supreme Court cases from the 1870s, and they love using Latin phrases. And I imagine this comes up in ghostwriting in other areas as well. Is part of what you do helping a business person who has a specific expertise communicate in a way that lay people understand? Do you act as a translator almost from time to time?
Sometimes that's really important. And in fact, sometimes that's why somebody will reach out to somebody like me, because they do want to be able to talk shop, so to speak, but then have that come across in a way that will make sense to some person who doesn't have that vernacular, doesn't have that language. And so you're absolutely right. Sometimes it does come down to almost like a translation thing.
The other thing I think people probably worry about, in addition to getting the right terms across and not using too many terms of art, right, is being authentic. Do people have that concern? Even if they don't want to write it, they want help with it, and they hand it over to somebody else. Are they worried about it not being authentic, it's not coming from them, their business voice? And how do you overcome something like that?
I think it's important to understand that any sort of quality ghostwriting happens after a lengthy discussion in which, I'm getting to know the business and or the person involved. Yep. And so by the time we're done, and I say this up front with everybody I work with, all we're going to do is what you yourself would have done if you had the time. I'm saving you time. I'm not, hopefully I can turn a phrase in a way that's appealing and whatnot, but I'm not here to create something that you would have never thought to create. So in that sense, I try and set people's mind at ease that, this is still their work product. And I think once people go through the process, they see that. But until you go through the process, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around that concept.
Yeah, so let's extend on that a little bit, because I'll tell you, I get a bunch of law firms that ask me about copywriting services and ghostwriting services. And almost invariably, they don't know somebody to go to. They don't have a contact. So how should attorneys or business people go about trying to find a copywriting service or a ghostwriting service? What should they be looking for in terms of criteria and service provision?
I'm going to answer this question in two different ways, okay?
Great.
So if a firm is looking for somebody to write about the law, then they need to seek out somebody with legal expertise. If they are looking for somebody to what we were talking about earlier, translate some of these legal concepts or just some of the talking points that they've been hitting on, but they want to keep hitting on in a way that's new and fresh, then that's where somebody like myself comes in with a fresh pair of eyes and a general audience's perspective. And, they just reach out and we talk.
And I think that's what's missing from a lot of business owners, not just law firms. Like people who are in the weeds every day in their own business, they speak the same language, they talk the same way as their colleagues. And this notion that you have of like a fresh pair of eyes, like that's really helpful. Just to get somebody to look at this and say, hey, a layperson has no clue what this word or term means. Just doing that, I think, must be tremendously helpful for people.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend that whether it's law or any sort of field, getting a second pair of eyes on your content is always a good idea. From the layperson's point of view, which is where I would come in, it would just be about like, let's check on your blind spots. And because you don't know what you don't see, I know you're a TV guy, so I have to ask you, did you ever watch Schitt's Creek?
No. Is it good? Should I watch it?
You should watch it. You would love Schitt's Creek. And the reason I bring it up in this context is, and I'm gonna give you one spoiler, but I think this spoiler is gonna get you hooked on watching the whole series.
All right, hit me.
So there's a billboard, and it's a sort of a tourist welcome to the town billboard, and it's showing like the founder of the town and a woman, and he is bent over this woman in, shall we say, a very suggestive manner that you would not necessarily want to plaster across a billboard advertising your town. And so an outsider comes into the town, right, and calls this to their attention. And the mayor of the town says, oh, but that you don't know the history. That's his sister. It's not a big deal. And he's like, oh, okay. So, but he said, oh, but we'll fix the billboard. So then at the end of the episode, they drive by, exact same picture, but at the top it says, don't worry, that's his sister. Okay, so
All right,
this
I'm
is
sold. I'll watch it.
This is my representation of second pair of eyes, not seeing your blind spots. That's my Schitt's Creek blind spot moment for you, Jared.
I love how you brought it home, man. One of these days I'm going to do a monologue on Schitt's Creek. You watch.
All right.
All right, so let me ask you some logistical questions. Like,
Okay.
I get the whole process behind it. It's understandable to me. I know why attorneys and other business owners need it. What kind of content should people be looking for? Because I think this is something as well. Like, people want to produce content, but there's so many different ways to do it now, right? You could do blogs, you could do ebooks, you could do white papers. Like, what kind of requests are you getting for written content, and what are you seeing people gravitating to now?
So far this year, what I've been working on is social media, some proofing and development on RFPs, press releases, blogs and columns, presentations and talking points, some website content, maybe some white paper editing, e-newsletters, and testimonials. I think that's pretty comprehensive of what I've worked on so far just in like the first couple months of 2022.
Yeah, it's pretty broad, actually. That's a lot more than I would have anticipated.
Yeah, so I mean, my company is called Chalkbridge Ghostwriting and Content, and the and content part is probably the majority of what I do, but ghostwriting I throw in there because it's a nice niche, which some people are looking for and is not an oversaturated market. So that's part of why I have this sort of dual nature of my business. But yeah, in terms of like what people should be looking for, like I don't have a playbook. I don't come into a client meeting and say like, okay, let's run, option C, which involves X, Y, and Z. I sit down, probably much like you do, and I talk to them and I listen to them. And I say, okay, what are we trying to do? Who are we trying to reach? And then we start thinking about, what are the different platforms? And I'm always trying to repurpose things in as many directions as make sense as humanly possible. So when it's working well, I'm not doing just one thing for somebody. I'm building a piece of content that then gets, spliced out in several different directions.
That's really interesting. So like, I wouldn't have pegged that, but like, so you're like drafting like social media posts, which could be really short form content if it's like a tweet or something like that, right?
Correct. Yeah.
That's interesting. And I guess that would help. Like, I don't know if you view it this way, but if I was the company owner, I'd be interested in that because the more content I had my company writing for me, the more similar the voice is. And that's better for messaging, right? Is that part of the sales pitch also? Like the more I write for you, the more it sounds alike?
Absolutely. And that's a huge part of it is, okay, you need a blog, you need a column for your website, but if I do that, why don't I also create some social posts for you? And oh, by the way, like, what if we did a video with that same theme? And so I focus on the words because that's the anchor of your messaging, but I'm really all about branching out from there in as many directions as makes sense, and not just written directions either. It could be graphics, it could be photo, it could be video. I haven't done podcasts yet. I have to leave that to the experts like you. But
oh, wait, like me? Oh, that's Evan and Adam. I'm just a puppet. So in terms of like the social media and the content marketing thing, I think that's a really interesting intersection as far as I'm concerned. Like, so you get the content prep for people, and then are you worried that like they're going to screw the process up, like post it at the wrong time, post in the wrong platform? Do you try to work with like social media people, or do you sometimes post things for people? Like how involved do you get in that? And what's the line between like content production and social media management to your mind?
Yeah. So the short answer to your question is both. For a subscription client, because I know when you operate on a subscription basis, and
yeah, it's the way to go, man.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I think when I was first starting this, that was one of the most helpful things. I remember we met probably a couple years ago when I was founding this, and you're like, you should really think about subscriptions. And that has been a really helpful piece
awesome.
of insight. So I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So the answer is both. It's for a subscription client where I'm sort of like really in the full, 360-degree content strategy world with them, I'll post it myself. If I'm just sort of being hired to come in and help them create an article for the website or something like that, then I might just, once I'm done, and I might suggest a post, but they can take it or leave it. And if they have a social media team, then more power to them. So I really kind of just work with them wherever they're at, and I can go either way on that. That
makes sense. Well, I got to tell you, like, I didn't know you were doing as much as you're doing, and frankly, I didn't know that copywriting involves so much. And there's like a little bit of a PR role here as well, right? Because you're doing press releases and stuff from time to time as well.
Right. Yep. So again, for a subscription client, I do also do media relations, and that's the type of thing where, not to keep harping on the subscription thing, but it really has to be that way, because media relations is kind of like baseball. If you strike out 7 times out of 10, you're doing fantastic, because you got those 3 hits. And so as a relatively lean sort of boutique style agency, I don't have a lot of time to waste on calling up reporters and hearing no. So it's not something that I really get enlisted for on a one-off basis. But if I'm in sort of this 360-degree content world with a client, then it is part of my bag of tricks. And as a former reporter, I tend to be pretty good at discerning, who's open to what and how to get stuff published.
Awesome. Mike, I learned a lot, honestly. Like, there's more options accessible here than I thought there were. And the subscription model is interesting. There's also the ad hoc model. So seriously, thanks for coming on today. I appreciate it.
I'm psyched to be here, Jared.
We'll take one final sponsor break so you can hear more about what our sponsors can do for your law practice. Then stay tuned for the Rump Roast. It's even more supple than the roast beast. Imagine billing day being the happiest day of the month instead of the day you dread. Nobody went to law school because they love drafting invoices for clients and chasing overdue bills. At TimeSolve, our attorneys have the tools to achieve a 97% collection rate. That means more revenue for the same work and turning billing day into happy day. Learn more about how to get to your time and billing happy place at timesolve.com. Now more than ever, an effective marketing strategy is one of the most important things your law firm can have, and Scorpion can help. With nearly 20 years of experience serving the legal industry, Scorpion has proven methods to help you get the high-value cases you deserve. Join thousands of attorneys across the country who have turned to Scorpion for effective marketing and technology solutions. For a better way to grow your practice, visit scorpionlegal.com. Welcome back, everyone. We're here in the rear end of the legal toolkit. It's the Rump Roast. That's right. It's a grab bag of short-form topics, all of my choosing. Why do I get to pick? Because I'm the host. Mike, I see you're still here. Welcome back.
Still good to be here, Jared.
Great. And I'd like to introduce, well, you might rethink that momentarily, but I'd like to introduce 2 additional guests. I figured since we're doing the Beverly reunion here, Mike and I live in the same town, Beverly, Massachusetts, we'd invite on our wives. So we have Mike's wife, Kathleen, and my wife, Jessica. Would you guys like to introduce each other? Kathleen, we can start with you.
Introduce each other?
Well, that was... Don't introduce each other. Introduce yourselves individually, starting with Kathleen. Go ahead, Kathleen.
My name's Kathleen Feldman. I work in finance, and I'm a city councilor here in the great city of Beverly.
Very nice. Love it. All right, Jessica, your turn.
I'm Jared's wife, Jessica.
You can stop now. No, go ahead.
Actually, Jared is my husband. He's Jessica's husband. And I also live in Beverly. I work at a law firm, and I have 2 podcasts. I have Escape a Travel podcast and Fab 5, which is also a travel podcast because I'm also a travel agent. So
now the point that I want to establish is that everybody lives in the same town. I think this is really appropriate for this Rump Roast segment.
Oh boy.
We're going to play a brand new quiz game called The Town. Mike, you lived in Beverly, Massachusetts your whole life. Jessica, you lived on the North Shore of Massachusetts your whole life. Kathleen, you're from Buffalo originally, right? But you moved here?
Correct.
Yes, I am from out of town as well as I moved here. So we've got a lot of perspectives in play. So I'm going to ask some questions about what it's like to live in a town. And I want the townie perspective from Mike and Jessica. Now, don't get nervous. I'm not going to ask you any specific questions about the town we live in. I promise. This is a townie's guide to life. Okay. Question number 1. As a townie, what are you most likely to wear while pacing around the yard talking to yourself? Anyone? Am I the only one who does this? This is unfortunate.
Flip-flops. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be slides or flip-flops, basketball shorts. I've seen this before. And like a bathrobe. I mean, if it's the image I'm coming up with, I can't do that. But I'm guessing it's basketball shorts, some type of pajama type game, and flip-flops, because I've seen that drop off by the dad at like Caterpillar Clubhouse a lot. So that's my take.
Oh, Jessica's laughing because that's what I wear every day.
I think a bathrobe with boxers is cute. I think girls were wearing black yoga pants and flip-flops.
Okay.
Maybe a sweatshirt. I don't know. That's what we'd be wearing.
Mike, how about you? What are you rocking when you're in the yard talking to yourself?
For my yard pacing attire. Mm-hmm. So I usually go into my yard pacing closet and pull out some sweatpants or running pants that are way too big, stained with paint of various colors from assorted projects over many years, and a t-shirt with holes and mysterious stains in the general armpit region, which is reserved for yard pacing because that will just up the,
crazy factor.
Yeah,
exactly. The crazy factor is way up. I like that. Yeah. I do prefer like the slides and the shorts, like that Florida guy video when the guy's wearing like his Adidas slides and he traps an alligator in his trash barrel. Like that's me, except not.
I haven't seen that.
Alligator. That's good. You got to watch that.
But let's be honest, you don't usually put like significant clothes on to go outside to take the trash out.
All right, if we're being honest, I've definitely gone outside in just boxer shorts before. So be thankful.
I've gone out in just my pajamas, which is kind of like a girl, like the equivalent.
Same.
Because I've taken the trash or the compost out like first thing or
tank top and shorts. Sure.
So Jared, this question hits a little close to home for me because growing up as a kid, my father used to mow the lawn on a busy street in Beverly in nothing but a Speedo.
To get his tan.
That's the stock that I come from.
Jared would totally do that, by the way.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, I would have also accepted thong. Okay. Well, I got 2 questions left. We're going to cut some of this, obviously, but let's just get through it, and Evan can pick the best parts. I'm sure he's listening intently because he's a pervert. Okay, question 2. If someone wanders into the local area wearing a sweatshirt emblazoned with the logo of a neighboring high school sports team, the appropriate response is to do what?
Kick them in the balls.
I like how fast that she didn't hesitate.
Yeah, it's like have you done that before? Anyone else have any thoughts on this?
Am I wrong?
No, I don't. No one's correcting you. I think you're right.
I don't have a good response. That seems like it's,
What could be better than
in
that?
Buffalo, do you like shake hands with your opponents, or
I think
No,
the
you throw
problem
a
is I was
dildo into
from,
the end zone, right? That's what they
Yeah.
do in Buffalo.
That is what we do in Buffalo. Bill's Mafia is way more about shenanigans than actual violence. But I think that it's because I was from like a city, and so there wasn't like there were different schools in the city, but there wasn't other neighboring towns. It was just all Buffalo, 'cause
Yeah. You need like a
It's
regional,
harder.
you need like a city rival
Yeah.
to make that really a thing. I also would have accepted siphoning gas from their car, saying mean things about them in a loud voice and pretending you don't see them, and pepper spray. But all good answers. Yours was the best, Jessica.
was balls
Okay.
number one?
Balls is now number one. Yes. Okay. Although I had Rochambeau on the last question. So, all right. Last question. Which animal would you be most likely to buy and keep in your yard to piss off your asshole neighbor? I've thought a lot about this, but I'll let everyone else answer first.
Chickens, absolutely. And we're going to call them emotional support animals. Chickens that are called emotional support animals that would infuriate said neighbor.
Let's
Llamas, something really hippie. Something
alpacas.
super hippie. Alpacas, and they are emotional support alpacas.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need them because I have a doctor's note. That would kill him.
If we want to make
Right
this
there.
super Beverly, it has to be chickens and alpacas.
Yes. Agreed.
Like,
That's
Those
the
are
only
both
thing that's
great
really
answers.
going to raise people's spirits.
or roosters. Roosters would be.
They're
really
illegal.
good. Are
They're
they
illegal in Beverly. Roosters are illegal.
Why do you know all the rules?
Elected official
They're
thing.
really something really loud, something that shits a lot. Yeah. Those
Right,
are great answers,
chickens and
by the way.
alpacas. I know what yours
Chickens and
is, but
alpacas.
why don't you tell us what yours is?
Well, no, there's a lady in our neighborhood who walks a chicken around on a leash. That's got to be an emotional support chicken.
It has to be. I think that she supports the chicken emotionally.
Well,
I
we
think
also
Maybe.
have people
Emotional
who,
support
who
human.
carry their dogs down the street. Like they go for a stroll with their dogs in their arms too.
Not a
babies.
Bjorn, not like a baby, not like a carrier.
They are the good neighbors, though. I like Chicken Lady and Dog
Chicken
carrying
lady and dog lady are great. They're some of my favorite neighbors. Mike, you got an animal for us? An emotional support beast of some kind?
Well, I'm thinking just a giant flock of birds, but not just like a few. Like, I'm talking Alfred Hitchcock level birds, like a significant flock, so that when they move, your neighbor is just absolutely terrified. That would be my go-to.
I like that.
You also love birds.
I'd almost consider like flightless birds that would be trying to fly
Penguins?
in a group. Penguins would be good.
Oh, penguins would be great.
And we have the pool, but everyone would like them. If you're
That's
trying
true.
to
Penguins
piss
are also
someone
cute.
off.
Yeah, nobody's
Penguins
going to
are-
get annoyed with penguins, but
Yeah,
I support
they'd find that
penguins.
delightful. Kathleen, you have a lot of information on city ordinances, so I want to ask you. I was seriously looking into buying a zebra online at the start of the pandemic. I was going to be able to score one for about $1,500, and I just wanted it to live in the yard. Would that have been legal in the city?
Probably not. I'm going to go with not because I think it would be an exotic. You have to license your pets, or at least dogs, anything that's like, or livestock. And I would believe that would require an exotic pets license.
But wait, what if it's an emotional support zebra?
I mean, from what I've heard, you don't even really need, it's really easy to just get a doctor's note that says that's it.
All right. I'm working on it.
I just would request you don't put me in that position.
Okay. No zebras, just for you.
Yeah, just don't bring it up as like to your city councilor.
Thanks, everybody. That's the Rump Roast. If you want to find out more about Mike Feldman and Chalkbridge ghostwriting and content, visit chalkbridge.com. That's CHALKBRIDGE, chalkbridge.com. Now, for those of you listening in Danvers, Massachusetts, go fuck yourselves. We've got a new Spotify playlist for this episode. Songs about places. Local places need only apply. Unfortunately, there's no time left to play Strip Old Maid, so I'm going to pull my fans back up. And if you want to subscribe to our OnlyFans page, oh, never mind. We don't have one. That'll do it for another episode of the Legal Toolkit podcast. This is Jared Correia, reminding you that dolphins sleep with one eye open, and so do I.
As a lawyer, keeping up with developments in information security, cyber threats, and e-discovery is a never-ending process. Fortunately, the Digital Detectives podcast does the hard work for you. I'm Sharon Nelson, and together with John Simic, we bring on industry experts to discuss the latest tech developments that help keep your data secure. Only on the Digital Detectives podcast.